I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction.
I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Raising the debt ceilings does not increase our debt. It does not somehow promote profligacy.
I know words. I have the best words. Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Peddling Fiction Podcast. I'm your host, the voice and soul of so-called fiction, Johnny Profita. And back with me today, hopefully well-rested since he slept through yesterday's podcast, is Justin Hillbilly Boy Campbell.
Yeah.
How you doing over there?
You know what's really funny about that is, I didn't feel good Sunday night at work and had to just power through because management can't not show up. There's nobody to replace us. So I just had to suck it up. And I slept all day Monday. And I set an alarm yesterday. I could have sworn I set an alarm. And I woke up I don't know, an hour or so before I needed to go to work. And I still had to shower and do everything, get ready for work and everything. And I could have swore I set an alarm.
Yeah.
Well,
whenever that happens, I'm just I need a fucking camera in my room. I need video evidence of me shutting off this alarm because I refuse to believe that I did that.
Okay, so as I'm sitting at work last night, guess what goes off?
Oh, AM, PM.
Yeah. Guess what goes off at fucking 1:30 in the morning? So I did set an alarm, but I set it for AM. I was I know I didn't sleep I know I didn't sleep through that alarm.
Yeah, my alarm is so obnoxiously jolting that there's just no way you can sleep through it. It probably takes a couple of months off my life every time it wakes me up at this point because it's just oh shit.
What I need to do is get an old school alarm clock and put it on the other side of the room and set it. That's what I always did in college. College students, you always hear about them oversleeping or they just roll over and turn off their alarm, think they hit snooze, but they turned it off and then, miss class or miss work or whatever. Yeah. So when I was in college, I had the alarm on the other side of the room where I had to physically get up out of bed and walk over there to turn it off. And then I'm up. So a lot less chance of going back to bed.
Yeah. You got to know your weaknesses. But anyway, what did you do last week? I'm just kidding. I know we're not starting out the show with that, but it would have been a great transition.
Well, maybe that's what they should have asked. Maybe that's what they should have asked Joy Reid before letting her go. Maybe she could have justified keeping her job if they'd have just given her a chance. Instead, we get this piece of just incredible. I mean, I love that the internet is forever because that means we can relive this moment anytime we want forever.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I try not to cry on TV. And I say this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And then it mattered. I see Karen is there and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folks, that or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them. Or whether we've talked about what the president is doing that is subversive to the Constitution, that is injurious to our liberty, you know, defending books that people find inconvenient, you know, that Nicole Hannah-Jones put into our spirit, that we need to understand 1619 as the real founding of this country, whether it's talking about any of these issues. And yes, whether it's talking about Gaza and the fact that we as the American people have a right to object, to little babies being bombed. And where I come down on that is I'm not sorry. I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. And you know, I'm a church girl too, and those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just proud of my show.
So if you go, I was keeping tabs on the things that she talks about on her show that she's really proud of. It was race, and race. And Donald Trump's bad. That's it. Race shit. It's like, yeah, that has no more value.
I have never actually watched her show. I have seen plenty of clips on Facebook and Reddit and on Twitter, her ex. And literally every clip I've ever seen is some race baiting bullshit. Like I can't believe that your show brings value to a post-racist society when all it does is promote racism. Like, your show is not the show was not challenging racism. It was promoting it. It was creating it.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I see the clips that float around, and it's her just being very anti-white, anti-straight white male. It was was the gist of it. I would love to see how many times she stood up for Asian Americans. I bet you could count that on one. It was Black Lives Matter, poor Asians, and immigrants, and then Donald Trump subverting the Constitution. I'm sure she spent a lot of time on that and got it completely wrong.
Well, and I'm sure the time that she spent supporting Asian Americans was during the bullshit manufactured. They were being attacked because of COVID and the China virus. I'm sure she didn't stand up for or support Asian Americans whenever they were
Harvard.
Whenever they were overturning the affirmative action stuff, because Asians were being discriminated against in favor of blacks. I'm sure she did.
They don't count in that regard. They're not the oppressed in that regard. That's the best part about the whole race baiting industry is that, Asians just destroy the entire narrative because they're nothing like white people. They have a completely different culture. They look completely different. Their eyes are completely different. Skin color is different. Food's different. And yet they crush it in like everything.
Well, and on that, think whatever you want about the H-1B stuff and all of that, but Indians are slowly moving in that direction as well. Actually, less slowly of late. Like, there are huge cultural differences, and also they are wildly successful. They are the ones who are here in the United States are proving to be exceptionally smart and do well. Yes, the ones that we import in tend to lie about everything and be less than great. But the ones that are here and coming up in this culture are also setting a standard.
There is one common thread between the Asians and the Indians, is that the families are, by and large, completely intact. The parents put a focus on getting good grades and merit and not half-assing anything. It's just like, oh yeah, if you do that, lo and behold, you're pretty successful in America. And it doesn't matter what you look like or what your skin color is or what you identify as. Just go to school, get good grades, bust your ass, don't have kids out of wedlock. Yeah, it's not fucking rocket science.
Well, speaking of race baiting, apparently Rachel Maddow had some pretty strong thoughts on MSNBC following the firing of Joy Reid. Or I don't know if she was fired so much as her show was canceled, and then they just didn't have anything for her to do. But anyway, here's Rachel Maddow and her response to that.
Hour all the other nights except for Mondays. So that's a big change. An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything.
Then you're a retard.
I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think.
Okay, pause it real quick.
Also,
I looked up what Joy Reid was getting in the key demographic, 18 to 54. 60 to 75,000 key viewers in the key advertising demographic. That is abysmal for a supposed primetime cable news show. I mean, I would kill for those numbers, but 60,000 in the key demo is like anybody else would have been fired a long time ago. Not let alone make millions of dollars a year, putting out crap that nobody's watching. They're making the wrong decision. 60,000 fucking thousand people watching that show at 7 p.m. on MSNBC. That's just fucking pathetic, dude. That's absolutely pathetic. I don't even what do other people get? I remember I remember the last time we were kind of ripping on CNN and shit, they were getting a couple 100,000 in the key demo, and that was considered pathetic. This is you're not even cracking triple digits. That is pathetic, man. But anyway, let's hear some more of what Rachel Maddow has to say.
I just happened to go check just to see Tucker Carlson's most recent interview that he put up on X has hit 1.1 million in 2 hours. So,
okay,
just for comparison.
Yeah.
Unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it. But there's just one other piece of it that you should know. From your side of the TV screen, you will mostly see changes in terms of who's in the anchor chair. And actually, everybody who's going to be in anchor chairs from here on out are great colleagues and great at what they do, and you are not going to be disappointed in who's on our air and what you're going to be seeing. But one thing you cannot necessarily see is that the people who get our shows on the air, they're really being put through the ringer. Dozens of producers and staffers, including some who are among the most experienced and most talented and most specialist producers in the building, are facing being laid off. They're being invited to reapply for new jobs. That has never happened at this scale in this way before when it comes to programming changes, presumably because it's not the right way to treat people and it's inefficient and it's unnecessary. And it kind of drops the bottom out of whether or not people feel like this is a good place to work. And so we don't generally do things that way. Maybe all of our folks, including most of the people who are getting this very show on the air right now, maybe they will all get new jobs here. And I hope they do. But in the meantime, being put in this kind of limbo, the anxiety and the discombobulation is off the charts at a time when this job already is extra stressful and difficult. It is not news for me to tell you that the press and freedom of the press are under attack in a way that is really, it's a big deal for our country. It's very visceral for us here. I know that the business of the press is not an easy thing, and I know that no job is forever. But I think I'm safe in saying for all of us anchors who you know through the TV, please know that what pains us the most is not what happens to us. It is what happens to our coworkers on whom we depend and who you don't necessarily know, but we respect and love them and depend on them. And did I mention we respect them?
You did, like 3 times.
Interestingly enough, almost immediately after she had this little tirade about Joy Reid being fired and MSNBC being racist, MSNBC went ahead and laid off I think a quarter of her staff, maybe more.
Dude, so real quick, just to go over some more numbers for reference on Joy Reid. Averaged around 759,000 viewers in early December, a 47% decline from the average achieved in 2024. Laura Ingraham, some fucking floozy on Fox News, attracted an estimated 3.4 million viewers in the same slot. Okay? There you go. And who the fuck likes Laura Ingraham? You know what I mean? It's just like 3.4 million versus 759,000, which was down 47%. Your numbers drop like that, and you're getting 60 to 75,000 in the key demo. I'm sorry. Your race is not playing into that. If anything, they waited longer to fucking get rid of her show simply because she was a black woman, and they didn't want these kind of fucking bullshit accusations from Rachel Maddow, accusing you of being a racist because your 2 people of color hosts or whatever got fired, and also the half Asian chick. Now again, we're concerned about Asians. All right. It really is. Rachel Maddow makes fucking, oh yeah, she took a pay cut. She's down to like 25 million a year, and she works 1 day a week. For a racist, by the way.
Right. She still continues, and that was the point that Megyn Kelly then came on to make later on, was like, you continue to work for the people that you say are racist. So
the fallout from Joy Reid's firing at MSNBC continues. She signed off from the show for the last time last night. I mean, we are going to miss her in our own special way. And her now former colleague, Rachel Maddow, never one to not be the center of attention if she can find a way of injecting herself into a story, decided to deliver a monologue aimed directly at her bosses. And this is the theme of what we saw. I looked it up today just so I would know the actual definition. Merriam-Webster: sanctimony, affected or hypocritical holiness. Wikipedia describes sanctimony as a feeling or display of moral superiority. Here's another one for you. Self-righteous, from Oxford. A certainty, especially an unfounded one, that one is totally correct or morally superior. I give you Rachel Maddow. We're
not listening to Rachel Maddow again, but yeah, it's amazing and hilarious that Rachel Maddow goes on has this tantrum. Then a bunch of her staff gets fired. She's talking about like how hard it is for the press and stuff right now, that they're under duress. They're all worried about freedom of the press, and that they're being assaulted by the by this administration. I'm not aware that anything has actually happened to any of them outside of their own networks firing them because they suck donkey dick. Like they're okay. So Trump's press secretary announced that they're going to change the way that people get access to the White House. So before it was like the White House press corps were in charge of deciding who got access. And the White House press corps is just a bunch of like legacy media, leftist shills that basically get to have a monopoly on who has access to the White House. And Trump's press secretary said, we're not going to be doing that anymore. We're going to decide who gets to be here. You don't get to decide that. And now they're all in a tizzy. It's like Trump is going to let his defectors in. Like he's going to let MSNBC and NBC and ABC and CNN. He's going to let them in because
he likes to make fun of them.
Right.
It's great for him. He just gets to call them fake news. And by the way, is that really a big difference? Like, let's say he didn't let them in. Like, okay, so the Biden administration would let them in and just never call on them for questions. Right. It's just like, what difference does it make? It's a distinction without a difference. And also, like, who the fuck really cares when they're like, it's like these people are just, their job is to come up there and lie to you, not answer questions. We're going to circle back to this. We're going to circle back to that. Like, who gives a shit who has access to that, like, ridiculous fucking clown show? Anyway, yeah, dude, Rachel Maddow. What a little fucking $25 million a year. Works like 1 day a week, and does not have the balls to just take a principled stand. She must have more money than fucking God at this point. She was making $30 million a year before she took the massive pay cut. So imagine having, I don't know, you got to have at least 50 million in the bank at that point. I don't know how long her show's been on the air, but like, if you don't have 50 million fucking stashed away for a rainy day when you've been making 30 million a year for God knows how long, you should be able to just be like, you know what? If I really believe this, if I really love Joy Reid and respected her so much, and I just disagree with this decision and it's racist, and racism is the most evil thing ever, then you quit. You take a principled fucking stand and you quit and you stand with Joy Reid. But nope, just bloviates a little bit.
It's interesting that Joy Reid is not going to remain at NBC in some different role or take a different job. Kind of like Jim Acosta and CNN. Like CNN literally tried to give Jim Acosta a different time slot, and he refused. He wanted his time slot. What were his ratings in his time slot? Because it was around a similar time slot. It was one of those primetime shows. Like, he refused to take a different job, and so like basically they just
80,000.
So not a lot better than Joy Reid. A little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah. He reached a high of like 135,000.
Like, so these shows are failing miserably, and then they don't take a different job. They don't stay with the network. Like, and this was Joy Reid doing a podcast or something. I'm sure she thinks she's going to just like do the Tucker Carlson thing after he got fired by Fox and just become a smash hit. Except that, interestingly enough, at the end of that article that we were just reading, apparently Megyn Kelly roasting MSNBC has fired up a feud with Don Lemon. Don Lemon told Megyn Kelly to go fuck yourself for celebrating Joy Reid being canceled, which is fucking hilarious. But like, I think they all think they're going to go the way of Tucker Carlson, and we already saw Don Lemon try that. Don Lemon tried and failed miserably. Like, they don't actually bring anything of value that people want. You're not going to have better luck going it on your own, doing a podcast or a Twitter show or whatever, if you don't have an audience, if you like don't have people watching. And how much of the the target demographic is just people who have the TV on, like not necessarily Wow.
The joke is that it's just all airports. Just on at every fucking airport. Or is that CNN? I was trying to find the Megyn Kelly's podcast numbers, but
CNN is on in the all the doctor's office.
Yeah. Like there's a big difference between CNN and MSNBC. I was trying to find Megyn Kelly. I don't know. I think she's got a couple million subscribers though to her podcast. Like she's crushing it. Tucker Carlson's crushing it. These people like Don Lemon is just gonna fade away into obscurity. Joy Reid probably even faster than Don Lemon. I don't know who. Nobody needs to watch that shit anymore. They completely discredited him, especially Rachel Maddow, dude. She was like the biggest Russian collusion peddler. She got everything wrong about that. Everything wrong about COVID. Remember, the vaccine stops with you, or the disease stops with you if you get the vaccine.
Rachel Maddow's show is 100% projection and her making predictions about stuff that end up being wrong. Has she actually been right about anything in like the last 5 years?
I couldn't tell you because I don't see that much of it. But if I had to bet, I would say no, and I would feel pretty comfortable with that bet. She's just I can't believe she makes that much money. It's mind-boggling to me. They should fire her. Be like, oh, you think it's right? No, it's not about racism. It's about your show sucking, so you're fired as well. Like, what are her numbers? Let's see. Rachel Maddow. She has a podcast too. Jesus. Maybe that's what she's doing the other 5 days of the week. Rachel Maddow show ratings. Let's see. Oh, crossed the 2 million total mark. Really? 1.7 in January. So 113,000 in the 25 to 54 demo. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these numbers are kind of all over the place, but she at least cracks like into the millions, it looks like, with total viewership. Yeah, I don't know, dude. We've been talking about the dying of this industry for the last couple of years, and I think this is sort of like the last throes of it. Where they're, by the way, I think I saw at least one picture of who was replacing one of the MSNBC anchors. I don't think I sent it to you because it was like, I don't know, a little ridiculous, but yeah, here, hang on. Let me present my screen here. This is this one. Yeah, there we go. Here's our new MSNBC anchor. So it looks like they're really going for a change here with this dude. Well, I don't know if he identifies as a man or not.
Regardless of how he identifies, I identify
that's a woman's suit.
Yeah. This is just bearded. This is just bearded Joyanne Reid. Why?
Yeah. This is Joyanne Reid when she finishes transitioning.
Yeah. They couldn't wait for her to go ahead and get it done, so they're just like, all right, we're just gonna replace her.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's like I think they replaced them with like more black people than they actually, like they fired 1 or 2 people of color and they hired like 4 or something. So according to their retard DEI math, they're still coming out ahead. I don't know what Rachel Maddow is so upset about.
They're upset about the same thing that all of these insane leftist journalists are upset about. The tides are turning against them, and they just absolutely cannot. They cannot cope. They cannot deal. It's too much for them to. They've never been challenged before, and now they're being challenged, and they don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, well, people who suck at their job really don't like being challenged. If you don't want to get fired, get people to watch your show.
It's kind of like
also,
over at the Washington Post. Washington Post reporters melt down. An editor quits after Jeff Bezos makes a hard pivot towards personal liberties and free markets. So Bezos published a note with the Washington Post team where I'll just read it real quick. It says, I'm writing to let you know about a change coming to our opinion pages. We are going to be writing every day in support and defense of two pillars, personal liberties and free markets. We'll cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to the publishers by others. There was a time when a newspaper, especially one that was a local monopoly, might have seen it as a service to bring to the reader's doorstep every morning a broad-based opinion section that sought to cover all views. Today, the internet does that job. I am of American and for American and proud to be so. Our country did not get here by being typical, and a big part of America's success has been freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else. Freedom is ethical, it minimizes coercion, and practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. I offered David Shipley, whom I greatly admire, the opportunity to lead this new chapter. I suggested to him that if the answer wasn't hell yes, then it had to be no. After careful consideration, David decided to step away. This is a significant shift, and it won't be easy, and it will require 100% commitment. I respect his decision. We'll be searching for a new opinion editor to own this new direction. I'm confident that free markets and personal liberties are right for America. I also believe these viewpoints are underserved in the current market of ideas and news opinion. I'm excited for us together to fill that void. So they're going to focus on, as he said, or as it said, free market and personal liberties. And
God damn it. How could anybody want to write about that?
And offered the current editor of the opinion section for the Washington Post the opportunity to head that up, and the guy decided he didn't want to do that. Like, if we're not allowed to write about insane leftist talking point bullshit, then we don't want to do it. We don't need a job. We don't want a job.
Yeah.
It's basically what that amounted to.
Like, talk about not being able to read the room. It's like, all right, dude, where are you going to go? Who's going to hire you now to do what you want to do? Because all of those newspapers are failing miserably. All of those news agencies that have been peddling the woke DEI stuff are failing. They're all hemorrhaging money. So they're not going to take on another guy that just because you want to, like, I guess he's going to start a Substack.
Well, I think the big kicker for it was if you oppose the ideas of free markets and personal liberties, then we are.
If you're a communist, you're not going to work for my company.
Right. We're not going to run that kind of stuff. And I mean, to be honest, a lot of what the Washington Post has done, opinion piece related, has been pretty anti-free market, pretty anti-personal liberty. They want you to, do whatever the government tells you to do. And if that's going to be the direction that Bezos takes with this, then
that's cool.
I mean, and this guy, the guy, what's his face, David Shipley, that quit. He was with a couple other like incredibly leftist rags, the New Republic, and what was the other one? Anyway, he's been an editor for just straight up left-wing propaganda trash for forever. So obviously, he was probably not going to get on board with taking a different direction.
Yeah. Well, and everyone's probably giving Bezos shit. It's like, yo, dude, it's his fucking paper. He gets to dictate what he wants the opinion pieces to be. I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, everyone's got a fucking angle. Everyone's got a bias. At least he's telling you, he's like, yo, I want to promote personal liberty and free markets, which should be the American way, as he was getting at in his little letter there. Anybody who is an American should be a proponent of those two very basic principles. And it's amazing the number of people that won't even that aren't even they're not like lukewarm on it. They're they actively oppose personal liberty and free markets. They think free markets are exploitative, and they want to control everyone's fucking liberties until it comes to them, and then they're like, "Oh my God, hands off my body." But yeah, I don't know, dude. It's great watching the tide finally turn on these people, and then watching and then just getting to sit back and enjoy the reaction. It's just watching the worst people in the country fail miserably, get fired, lose their following, lose the momentum in the direction that they were trying to drag this country, kicking and screaming. There's just nothing more satisfying.
Well, and watching as they squirm when they're questioned about what did you do last week?
Yeah.
1 million federal workers responded to Elon Musk's mass email asking to list their accomplishments. The White House on Tuesday said 1 million federal employees responded to a mass email from the Office of Personnel Management asking them to list 5 things they had accomplished in the past week. We've had more than 1 million workers who have chosen to participate. I actually participated in it myself. It took me about a minute and a half, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a response to a reporter's questions about the OPM email deadline, describing what was asked in the email as something very simple that can be accomplished in a few minutes. Leavitt confirmed that the email was an idea from Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, which he heads, and helped OPM craft the email. She also said that the federal workers need to respond to this email unless told otherwise by their agency heads. I don't think it should be up to the agency heads. It's like, we're running this shit. You respond or you don't have a job. Everything about what the Trump administration is doing, I want them to do it even more aggressively. Like it's been a wildfire storm of stuff happening. Now ramp it up to 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically my one complaint is that none of this stuff goes far enough. Absolutely none of it. And watching them screech over like the most minuscule cuts to anything this is like the greatest part. If you suck at your job and you aren't doing anything, then yes, this email is infuriating to you because you didn't do 5 things last week. At least not 5 things that needed to be done.
And talking about this, what Harry here is mentioning in the comment, the meme breaking down how it costs taxpayers $17 million just by responding to this is hilarious. Like, okay, so did you see that? This guy says this will cost the taxpayers $17 million if you figure it takes X amount of time to answer these questions. Okay, number one, he was giving them way too much time to answer the questions. I can tell you 5 things I did at work last week in like 45 seconds, and I typed like above average. I could probably have the whole thing typed out in a minute and a half. But anyway, it's like the average amount of time that it would take to answer all of these questions times the number of federal employees times the fact that they make on average $52 an hour. It would then come out to $17 million just to answer this email is how much like taxpayers will be paying the federal employees. It's like, hang the fuck on. How in the hell is the average federal employee salary $52 fucking an hour? That like the entire mathematical breakdown of why this would cost $17 million just further proves that none of these fucking people should have a job, period.
100%. And they're all they're not getting hourly wages. They're all salaried. So it's not like we're paying them separately to work on this email. We're not paying them overtime because it came in on a Saturday. That's what everybody was watching them try to be outraged about this. This is, dude, every time I saw somebody trying to defend this and any other DOGE initiative, they started out by saying this. Look, I'm all for cutting waste, fraud, and abuse and finding inefficiencies, but blah, 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 blah. This isn't the way to do it. And this isn't right. And that isn't good. This is a fucking email. It takes maybe 30 seconds to read the email. And then you have to respond with 5 things that you got done. Dude, I've had jobs where not only did I have to list everything I did for the week, every week, I had to fill in my time, what I spent my time doing hour by hour, every single fucking day. believe me, that was really gay. And I thought it was a complete waste of time. I still did it. You don't have to do it if you don't want the fucking job. But this is like, dude, to complain about something like this, like you said, max, you're talking 10 minutes of your time. 10 minutes. The email comes on Saturday. You got to send it by Monday. So you have a day and a half. You can spend an hour on Sunday afternoon when you're having your coffee thinking about the 5 things that you're going to type out. And then you could just type them out and send the email.
And I'm sure it wasn't like an 8 a.m. Monday deadline. It was probably like you've got until end of business on Monday to do it. Yeah. And like I don't understand how that's such a big deal either. Like almost every job I've had, you send out a daily email with, this is everything that went on today. This is all the shit that we did. Like, are you really, are federal employees really doing so fucking little that they can't even come up with the 5 things they did last week? Like my morning fucking, like my end of shift report is longer than a lot of like Facebook posts and stuff. Like,
dude, I had a call every 9 a.m. every morning. What are you working on today? Every single fucking person in the department had to answer that at 9 a.m. This is what I'm working on today. And then we had to put it into a fucking thing, a spreadsheet, and then we had to account for our hours. Like, yeah, it's called accountability, and they want to make sure you're working on shit. It's absolutely ridiculous that anybody would have a fucking problem with this. Like, dude, pick your fucking, these people are retarded. Pick a battle that's actually worth fighting. Oh, we got an email and it asked us what we did last week. Yeah. We want to know what you're fucking working on. If it needs to be done, if you're even reading your emails, was another point that he's making. He's like, yo, I don't even think all these people are working. I don't even think these emails are associated with an actual human being other than just collecting a fucking check every month. So let's see what's what. Can you answer the email? Okay. Well, and then also, it's going to take forever to go through it, and who's going to read through everything? It's like, dude, AI can probably do all that shit. I'm sure they could figure it out.
That's like Elon's probably got Grok set up to do that in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It'll filter through it. It'll see who actually gave real response or see who gave responses. It'll, record it by their email address. And then there's like a ticker.
It's like you think, like Elon Musk. I know, dude, they have this new Elon derangement syndrome. It's a fucking, it's one of the what do they call them? The new strands of Trump derangement syndrome. It fucking morphed into Elon derangement syndrome. And people think he's like the dumbest. Like, you're not going to ask for this email from, in theory, a couple million people if you're not prepared to go through a couple million emails. Like, you don't have a fucking plan for that. Only somebody who's so retarded to stand up against answering this email would send an email to 3 million people and not have a plan for going through the emails when they come through on the other side. Like, that's the level of retard we're dealing with here. It's staggering. And to watch these people, I'm all for waste, fraud, and abuse and cutting out, but we shouldn't be doing it this way. We shouldn't be doing it that way. Which way should, like, why not?
Right. What's the most quick and efficient way to cut it? Find out who's actually fucking working and start weeding out from there. Which is
reading their emails.
Right. Which also goes into this. Musk warns Fed workers return to the office or be placed on leave. Like, it's time for you to show up, do your fucking job, answer an email. If you can do these 2 very minor things, respond to an email and show the fuck up, then you get to keep your job. It's simple as that. And if you don't, then obviously you're not doing anything and you don't need to be here.
Yeah, the one thing about the email is like, okay, if you don't respond to this, it'll be considered a resignation. Like, I'm like, oh, dude, that's fucking ballsy. Maybe you don't want to work for a guy like that. Good, then don't respond to the email. But it's like, I don't know if you could fire them for not responding to the email, or they could resign. But I don't think just not responding to the email could be considered a resignation. That seemed a little questionable to me, but I'm totally on board with the fucking sentiment. Like, you got to start fucking proving your goddamn worth. We're up to our goddamn eyeballs in debt. We have bloated federal agencies that have they've never cut anything. They've never really, like, they say they go through these audits, but they don't actually audit anything. And when they fail the audit, nothing happens. No changes are made. Nothing's fixed. It's all just fucking pomp and circumstance, and it's all show. We're going through these motions, but nothing ever happens. And now here's a guy coming in and be like, okay, yep, answer the email, or you're gone. Come into work or you're gone. And then they're like, oh, yeah, this is people at the IRS are getting fired now. Oh no. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. And I don't give a shit how many more fucking planes almost crash into each other because the DEI hires aren't coming back to work.
But this is why Johnny didn't want to answer the question, what did you do last week? Robbie the Fire was talking about doing meth with Johnny today on Run Your Mouth.
Oh shit, that was years ago, man. That was Sayulita Super Spreader. Oh man. Yeah, good times. Good fucking times. What did I do last week? Yeah, well, I work for myself now, so yeah, I answered to me. Boss is kind of a prick, but the hours are pretty great.
And then so some of the other, cutting waste and stuff. I saw somebody posted on Facebook that the top 5 things that DOGE claimed to have cut, it ended up removing them from its list of cuts and stuff. Like, I don't care what DOGE actually cuts. What I care is that they're exposing all of it. They're putting it out there, and they're making it so obvious how much waste and how terrible this is that not only are Americans like appalled at, because it's like we've talked about before, it's stuff that me and you already knew. Like, people in our circles, we knew. We've seen this stuff. We paid attention. The average dumbass, which unfortunately is, most voters, they didn't know any of this stuff. And so now they're seeing it all for the first time. And it's having such an effect that now even people in Great Britain are calling for their own DOGE. Calls for a UK DOGE as billions wasted on woke projects abroad are highlighted. Yeah. And you like a lot of this, you would think that, especially over in the UK with the Brexit, like, they had a pretty good idea that there was a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse going on in the EU, which is why they wanted to fucking pull out of that fucking thing. But yeah, that's the only value that this has is drumming up fucking massive national and worldwide support for government accountability, because they're really not. They're not going to accomplish much. I mean, yeah, 140 billion according to the Doge clock here on the net. It's nothing. It's really nothing. And they did just pass the Republican budget. I haven't seen any details on that yet. I've just seen people talking about it on Twitter. So like, we might have to save that for Friday. But yeah, they're adding $4 trillion to the fucking national debt. Like, they're not serious about this, really, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it. But there is plenty of stuff that they can go after to just kind of red pill people and be like, oh yeah, this is what government is actually doing. They don't care about you. They're not upset. Like, they're not for the working man, or, making sure that everybody gets these government services and everything like that. That's what they tell you. And then they take trillions of dollars and they piss it down the fucking drain. It's exactly what happened with the corporate press. This is the beginning of the end for the fucking government in that regard, where it's just like, oh yeah, Russia collusion, and then the COVID thing, and then 50 fucking race baiting stories that you get wrong every single time, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I've seen enough. I can't trust you guys. I'm changing the channel. And I think this is the beginning of that when it comes to like just massive government abuse, where they're just, we're spending $100 million on condoms or something, and got like, what? Like, what is going on here? Meanwhile, people are actually
suffering at home. They don't have fucking money to put food on their table, but we're sending billions of dollars all around the fucking world to do God knows what, to stupid fucking projects that nobody in their right mind would ever support, let alone support before you support your people at home. And it's just, they just keep coming back to you for more. Like, oh yeah, we, it's 7 trillion we spent last year. Need a little more this year. And for once, somebody's like, dude, I don't know. Like, what did you do with the first 7 trillion I gave you? Let's see if there's any way we could, save some of that and apply it in a different way, which is all they're really trying to do with the savings. It's not like they're actually going to pay down the debt or anything like that. No, they're just going to spend it on something else. And then that government agency will fucking blow it on a bunch of bullshit. But at least we'll know.
Well, talking about, gutting of government agencies and stuff like that, we've got several of them that are getting new heads here very soon. And a lot of things are changing already. Pentagon purge. Trump fires the chairman of Joint Chiefs, Navy chief, and other top brass, making good on a campaign pledge to shake up the senior military ranks to ensure a focus on his policy priorities. President Trump on Friday took an extraordinary step of firing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and 5 more senior Pentagon officers. The fired chair, Air Force General Charles Q. Brown, had only served 2.5 years of his 4-year term.
Yeah, once again, black dude fired. Obviously, it's racism. If you scroll down, I guess Hegseth was talking about firing this guy for like years. He wrote about him in his book, how DEI this guy was and how they need to fucking get rid of him. I think it's in this article. Yeah, repeated criticism right there at the bottom. I think maybe that's where it starts.
While no reason was given for the removal of the top lawyers of 3 largest military branches, the action comes after Hegseth's repeated criticism of what he says are unwarranted restrictions on how soldiers conduct themselves on the battlefield. In his Senate confirmation hearing, Hegseth said military lawyers put his or her own priorities in front of the warfighters, their promotions, their medals, in front of having the backs of those making the tough calls on the front lines. And they've even said the guy that Trump is picking to replace the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He was an actual military guy. He was a legit dude, not just some fucking military.
No, he's only a 3-star general instead of a 4-star. I guess that's the first time that's ever happened. And dude, that's the other criticism for all these appointments and everything. It's like, well, this isn't how it's normally done. We've always had 4-star generals, and we've always had somebody at the FBI who was like from the FBI in charge of the. That's the point. That's what's gotten us to this point in time where everything's fucked up the way you've been doing it. So we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to change it. Well, that's not how we used to do it. Yeah, I know. The way you used to do it sucked. How about that?
The way you used to do it is why we're in this position to begin with. So yeah, let's try to do
that's
something.
Not a criticism. Again, these people are they don't know what to do. I guess they've never had to try to defend these positions before. And it's like, oh, he was a 4-star general, replacing him with a 3-star general. It's like, yeah, because he was a fucking woke DEI retard. I don't know what to tell you. And who knows if the reason that he actually got 4 stars was because he was a good general or because he had black skin. I don't know. I don't know anything about these guys.
Odds are the reason he got that he was a 4-star general is he was good at being a politician. That's more or less what that ranking is. My dad had a cousin that was a 4-star general at the Pentagon for a while, and to actually be able to do so, he went into some legitimate military type stuff, and in order to be able to actually do real military stuff, he had to bump down from 4-star to 3-star because 4-star is just basically it's a political position. You are the politician of the military. To actually be able to legitimately serve, he had to bump down from 4-star to 3-star. 3-star.
Well,
So
and
like
that
that
makes
tells you
sense.
everything you need to
Right.
know.
Yeah. Anybody who actually served and was like in the thick of things doesn't give a rip about DEI when the bullets are flying. I'm sorry, dude. I just, there's just no way. There's no way they would choose DEI as something like that if they had like real combat experience and stuff like that.
Well, and that's like, Pete Hegseth, one of the big criticisms is his very openly, publicly talking about wanting to reduce women's combat roles and stuff like that. And then you've got like medics that there was one guy that was a medic that was talking about like his partner was a woman. This dude is like 6'3" with full gear and everything, 300 pounds. He said his partner is 5'2", 115 pounds soaking wet. He's like, in the event that something happens to me, he said, I'm fucked. I'm dead. She can't pick me up and carry me out of a combat situation. He's like, so our entire team is relying on nothing happening to me, because as soon as something happens to me, she's fucked and everybody else is fucked.
Yeah.
It's
By the way, I couldn't either. I'm not picking that dude up either. But yeah, point taken. She probably couldn't carry me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be, 6-something, 300. You could be 5'9", 160, and that would be a fucking problem for her. Oh shit. Oh man. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I don't know what to say other than just watching them try to defend the indefensible it's like the greatest gift that Donald Trump can give you. It's crazy. I'm all for waste, fraud, and abuse, but why aren't they going after the Pentagon? It's like, okay, first of all, it's only been a month, so like maybe they'll get to it. But like, yeah, you go after, like, you would think going after like the indefensible shit, like the low-hanging fruit, that's how you get started and you build momentum. You don't just come in there and take down the fucking Department of Defense. That's yeah, I'd love to do that, but realistically, I mean, come on, we have to. You have to start somewhere, and you don't just chop down the Department of Defense right off the bat. But if you go after transgender surgeries in Guatemala, who could be against that? Well, apparently everybody to the left of Donald Trump is against that. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it has been wild to watch them defend some of the most indefensible, insane bullshit. It's like,
yep.
How can you possibly be okay with your tax dollars going into this? And then that's when you realize that, the reason that they're all so mad about people having to answer an email saying the 5 things that they did last week is because none of them have ever had a job that required them to do anything. So they also, don't have any skin in the game as far as the taxes go. So they don't give a shit. Like, none of that matters to them. It's not their money.
Yeah, but like I said, like my biggest problem is that none of these things go far enough. Didn't he offer all these fuckers a severance like a week before? You should have taken the deal. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, right. That was the greatest deal ever. A 9-month paid fucking vacation, and you don't have to answer an email on a Saturday. So you had your fucking chance. You decided not to take the deal, and now you have to justify your job.
And not only that, but a judge gave him a 3-day extension to take the deal. Like the original cutoff for the deal was like on a Thursday or a Friday, and a judge extended it to the following Monday. So they had more than ample time to take this deal and fuck off.
Right. And now you're crying about it because you didn't take. Well, I'm sorry. You should have taken that deal. You would have never gotten a deal like that from me, ever. Your entire department would have been gone. I wouldn't have rolled you into the State Department and kept a couple hundred people. Nope, gone.
And when these unelected judges started saying, "Oh, you're not allowed to do that," I'd have told them, "Go fuck yourself, watch me," and done it anyway.
100%, 100%. We're trying to dismantle a criminal organization here.
Well, that's the thing is all these leftists are like, oh my God, they're tearing apart the government. Are you happy, MAGA? Are you happy now? They're tearing down the government. It's like, yes, that is exactly what we wanted. We sat back and watched 4 years of fucking Biden, and everybody decided, fuck that, tear it down. And that's what we voted for.
Yeah. I keep seeing all these things on Twitter. It's like, it's always like a leftist account being like, oh my God, MAGA's freaking out because they didn't vote for this. And then they'd be like, IRS agent was fired or something. And it's like, yeah, no, I've never seen any actual MAGA person saying I didn't vote for this. I've yet to see it. Maybe the algorithm's not producing it for me. All I see is leftists pretend like imagining that that MAGA voters are upset about this.
So I have seen a number of articles on the typical leftist rag websites, Salon, Mother Jones, so on and so forth. Those types that Trump supporter is very disappointed in what Trump is doing, except
anonymous
that
Trump supporter?
Yeah, it's anonymous. They like unnamed,
imaginary.
Yeah. Like, okay,
yeah,
cool.
they're gonna have to show the receipts on that because in the past, believe it or not, their sources have not turned out to be very reliable.
Right.
Which is again why Donald Trump is so popular. It's amazing.
Speaking of that, have you seen the these like insanely skewed? So there was a Gallup poll and another poll that showed that Trump is the least popular president in history of any country ever. It's like, okay, except that like literally CBS just ran a poll a week ago that showed him with his highest approval ratings of his first or second term. Like there have been Politico has had fucking, left wing got funding from the government. The only reason Politico exists is because of funding from the government. Politico had a poll that showed Donald Trump with his highest approval ratings ever. Like, okay, so you can run a skewed poll that shows that Donald Trump is the worst person on the planet, but there are just as many, if not more, polls that show that he is wildly popular and everybody loves this. My favorite one, there was a poll that asked, how much authority should Elon Musk and DOGE have to dictate what the federal government does? And what they said was that an overwhelming majority don't think that Elon Musk should have the authority to do this. When in fact, when you read the poll, there were three options. Option number one was Elon Musk should have no authority whatsoever. Option number two was Elon Musk should have some level of authority. And option number three, Elon Musk should have total authority over all of it. 30% said that he shouldn't have any at all. The other 70% said he should either have some or a lot or total. And I think it was like 24 or 28% said total control. And then the rest were like some level of control. But they were like, the overwhelming majority don't think that Elon Musk should have all this control over the government. It's like, that's not how
That's not what Paul said. Yeah. I mean, dude, anytime I just hear somebody from the left half of America or just like the never Trumpers as well, every time I hear them describe something, I have to assume it's 180 degrees the opposite of truth. And believe me, 99% of the time, you'll be correct in assuming that they're just absolutely wrong about it. And that 1% of the time, you're like, oh, shit. Okay. I guess they a broken clock is right twice a day or whatever. It's just like, yeah, okay. They got that one. But yeah, the vast majority of the time, especially when it comes to Donald Trump, is they're at a minimum, they're being factual but not truthful. And more often than not, they're not being factual or truthful. They're just completely full of shit. And they're hoping that you don't drill down into it.
It's the whole reason I started doing the show that I do, because they would have the fact checkers that the headline and the opening paragraph said one thing, and then the entire rest of the body of the article said the complete opposite. It's the entire reason I started podcasting at all. It's because
brilliant. Yeah. Yep. All right. We got some other stuff today.
We got a lot of other stuff, but a lot of it would make for good Friday fare.
I think we're gonna have to push some of it to Friday because I know you got to go pretty soon.
Trying to think, was there anything else that really, really stood out to you that you wanted to cover today? Actually, I got it. You did mention the budget got passed. As usual, And this happened back in December, I believe it was, where Trump supported a budget thing, and then everybody was like, oh, Thomas Massey opposed it. Listen to Thomas Massey. He is always fucking right.
Can you just talk to us to know, is there anything?
They convinced me in there. I'm a no.
Is there anything?
Look what, let me, their own numbers. If the Republican plan passes under the rosiest assumptions, which aren't even true, we're going to add $328 billion to the deficit this year. We're going to add $295 billion to the deficit the year after that, and $242 billion to the deficit after that, under the rosiest assumptions. Why would I vote for that?
So are you solidly a no?
Yeah, they convinced me. I was a lean no until this meeting. Now I'm a no.
This no confirmed.
This is a no.
Why? Why?
They're talking points. Look, these are not something I made up. This is the leadership's talking points. It adds $328 billion to the deficit. It adds $295 billion to the deficit the year after that. If the only way they get to this magic thing where it's not going to kill our country is 5 years from now, they imagine that 2.5% growth accumulates, and that even right here they say they're going to cap discretionary spending. You think we're going to cap discretionary spending and then spend at the rate of inflation after that? That has never happened. So their assumptions are wrong. But even if you take their assumptions at face value, they told us in there they're going to increase the deficit in 2025 by $328 billion. And I've been here long enough. I've been here 12 years. So I've seen a 10-year plan or two come all the way to 10 years. Under Boehner, we had these 10-year plans. Under Ryan, we had these 10-year plans. Anything past the third year never happens.
Yeah, dude, 100%. The 10-year plans are complete bullshit. I have the voting because someone's saying that he caved on this, and he's like, nope, I didn't. It was 217 Republicans, yay, 1 Republican, nay, Thomas Massey, and then 214 Democrats, nay, 0 yay. So I mean, dude, that just tells you everything, because now all of a sudden the Democrats are worried about spending money, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the only reason any Democrats voted nay on this is because it wasn't their plan. It probably does literally everything that they want to do, but it wasn't their plan, so that's why they voted against it.
Well, I saw a bunch of the usual suspects out there. They're cutting $800 billion from Medicaid and $200 billion from SNAP, and I mean, I hope so, but I doubt it. Again, maybe that's over 10 years. But because I couldn't find anything that really had the details of the bill in it, so maybe we'll save some of that for Friday. But okay, yeah, and then here you go. Well, I'm all for cutting government's waste, fraud, and abuse, but this is like there's 60 million. Oh, I did flag one of those. Wait a minute, did I not send that to you? I don't think I did. I flagged one retarded response to this. Or maybe I commented on it. Hang on. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. MAGAs are gutting Medicaid, which 60 million Americans rely on to survive. SNAP, 40 million Americans rely on to eat. School lunches, 30 million kids rely on daily. Housing assistance, which 5 million families rely on to live. All to cut $4.5 trillion in taxes for 800 billionaires. Those are the talking points. I highly doubt any of these things are actually being gutted. But the fact that 60 million Americans rely on Medicaid, 60 million, 40 million on SNAP, 30 million kids. So there are 30 million kids in school right now whose parents do not feed them lunch. How did we get to this point? Because when I was a kid, there was no school lunch program for kids. Like your parents made you the most basic fucking thing you do as a parent is feed your kid.
Right. It's the whole. If they started having kids go to school at 12 or 18 months, where that they're learning how to walk in school, then within a generation, people would think, oh, if the school doesn't do it, then how would our kids ever learn how to walk? If the school doesn't do it, who's going to feed our kids lunch? If the school doesn't do it, it's.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, rely is the wrong word. They're not relying on it. They're taking advantage of it because the program exists. So if the program exists, whatever it is, there's going to be a number of people, a large number of people, depending on what the qualifications are for the program, who will adjust their lifestyle to qualify for the program. And as far as I know, I don't know if there's any restrictions on the kids. I think if you're just a kid at school, you can just eat this lunch for free. So yeah, they're relying on it to the extent that they're handing out free lunches. Who doesn't want a fucking free lunch? And Medicaid, they're relying on Medicaid or they're taking advantage of Medicaid. But dude, I don't know if I think I've told this story before on the podcast. I can't remember. My youngest sister, this is like when Obamacare first came out. She was still like on my parents' insurance or something like that. And the plan that she had did not qualify for the Affordable Care Act. So that whole, if you like your doctor and your plan, you can keep it. That was bullshit. And the new plan had her being covered for all kinds of shit that she didn't need. And it was actually cheaper for her to just go on fucking Medicaid instead. So she did that. So instead of like allowing her to pay for my parents to pay for a plan that would cover the things that she needed, and the things that they're covering, like my fucking postmenopausal mom, they're covering like fucking pregnancy shit. They're having to pay for that. So it's just like, instead of allowing them to pick and choose what they want to pay for and pay for the plan themselves, they made it more fiscally responsible, made more sense to just go on the government program instead. Congratulations.
I think that was probably by design.
Yeah. And because they want control over people. This is how they control you. Look at the freak out now. When you try to cut anything from these programs, you can't cut that. 60 million people rely on it. Well, they don't rely on it. They're using it because A, you've incentivized them to use it, and B, it's convenient. It's easier. But, without the SNAP program, 40 million Americans, they're just going to starve to death, or are they actually just going to start, they're going to get a job and start buying some of their own food? What do you think's going to, I saw one person said crime is just going to go up. That was my favorite. I actually commented on that one on Twitter. Because it's like a threat, but it's also just like we're cutting out the middleman. Instead of the government stealing from you and giving the money to these people, they're just going to come and take your shit directly because you took away their SNAP program. Oh, shit. It really is something. Yeah. Give us our free shit or we'll take yours directly. If you cut SNAP benefits and Medicaid, crime is going to skyrocket, they said. Okay. All right. Well, that tells you a lot about the society that we live in.
Yeah. Good luck. I have 2 guns within arm's reach. So.
Yeah. Mine are so far away. All my licenses expired, I think, too.
You need to bring all of those here because Indiana doesn't have any problem with guns. I got a safe back here. We'll just load them all up in there. I'll take care of all your stuff for you. I'll even take them out and play with them from time to time so they don't feel lonely.
Yes, dude, they haven't been fired in years.
See, we have a solution.
TLC.
Next time you're in the States, we'll set it up. I will take care of all of your weapons for you.
I'm gonna have to get a plan to get to the farm then. When all hell breaks loose, I want a goat and a chicken.
Hell yeah! Speaking of chickens, we'll talk about the egg crisis on Friday because I got a lot to say on that one.
Yeah, we got that. I mean, there was the Dan Bongino, deputy director of the FBI appointment.
Well, and Kash Patel is getting control of the ATF along with the FBI. So there's that. that whole
there's some
that whole,
stuff there.
Cash Patel, Dan Bongino package deal is fucking incredible. And I think the most incredible thing about it is the left's reaction to it. Like they have, as if Cash Patel wasn't good enough of a choice to have them just lose their shit. Making Dan Bongino the what's the
deputy director?
Deputy director, the assistant, basically the assistant to Cash Patel. That
what are you gonna do? He's assassination proof right now. Can't take them both out. Yeah, it really is that, dude. That was pretty crazy. I didn't see that one coming, dude. I know Dan Bongino has a massive fucking podcast on Rumble. He's got to be making millions already. So to walk away from that and just be a fucking deputy director of the FBI for like, I don't know, a couple $100,000 a year or something. That's something like, talk about living your fucking principles. Even if you disagree with his principles, Rachel Maddow's not giving up the $25 million to stand on racism, against racism, is she?
Right.
I bet you Dan Bongino's giving up $25 million. Wouldn't surprise me if he's making that much off his podcast to go be a deputy director of the FBI, to go clean up the fucking FBI and go after fucking Adam Schiff. Like, that's fucking awesome. Good. And then, we have a couple COVID studies came out for Friday. And then, I want to get some budget numbers on this because I don't believe any of these fucking talking points we're seeing, but broad strokes, the fact that, they're going to increase spending by $4 trillion and raise the debt ceiling. I think that's coming. So once again, Republicans show you that they are not the fiscal conservatives that they claim to be, except for Thomas Massie. He is the one and only, like the only fucking bright light over there. It really is just incredible, man. Just only one guy voted against this fucking thing. And he tried to vote. He was the only guy, I think, or maybe who was the other guy that voted against the COVID spending bill? What's his face still in there? Oh shit, he was like on the libertarian ticket, or not the ticket, but the
Amash.
Yeah, Justin Amash. Maybe he voted against the COVID spending thing. I can't remember. It's too long ago. I've done too much meth since then, Robbie. All right. So, and then anything else that comes up between now and Friday, who knows? Every day is a fucking adventure with this. It's very different from the Biden administration. Holy shit. Hilarious.
There was a thing that said that it was talking about the number of questions that Trump has answered from the press in his first month, and how it was like 7 times as many as what Biden answered. Is like, okay, well, after like inauguration day, they took and hid Biden away for the next 18 months because they didn't know what the fuck they were going to do with him. So like any number of questions that Trump has taken in the first month is going to be more than what Biden had.
Yeah, dude, Biden didn't have a press conference until like well into his first term, his first year. And even then it was like, it wasn't even really a press conference. It was like, he had like pictures and like a photo book and the questions beforehand.
Yeah, like the first year of the Biden's presidency, it was like 4 or 5 press conferences, and he didn't actually answer questions at any of them. He came out, he made a statement, and then he walked out. Like they did not take questions.
That's not a press conference. Oh, shit. Yeah. All right. Well, so we'll tackle all that stuff on Friday. And thank you so very much for listening. Until then, you guys know what to do. Just keep on peddling that so-called fiction. Peace.